Yeah, today we're going to do something that's probably going to cause a lot of you guys to be upset in one way, shape, or form. I'm going to be ranking you my top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL. One per team. We're going to go 32 to 1. I have them in 8 different tiers. And my mindset for this, I think the best way to do it is neutral playing field. You're going to have all the same weapons. It's going to be the best head coach that could suit your skill set instead of ranking them in their current situations right now. Like I said, it's going to be one per team. So basically just choosing every team's best quarterback or starting quarterback. And I would love to know your top 10 in the comments below, or just let me know what you agree with or disagree with, and hit that subscribe button if you guys are not subscribed, because 97% of you guys that watch these videos are not subscribed. So hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on as well. Let's get into this. So we're going to start off on the skip the Sunday tier. If they're your starting quarterback, you're probably not going to have much success in the National Football League. So we're going to start off at number 32. Hopefully this is the last year that I have to watch him play multiple weeks, and that is the starting quarterback for the New York Giants, Tommy DeVito. I think if you went with Drew Lock or Tim Boyle, they would be in this tier as well, as Tommy DeVito pretty much replaced Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback last year. He appeared in 9 games. He started 6 of them, and he had a 3-3 record, and he's probably the reason why the New York Giants do not have Jaden Daniels or Drake May. So you can thank Tommy DeVito for that. He's got 8 career touchdowns to 3 interceptions. It has been just an abysmal offense with Tommy DeVito starting for the New York Giants since they cut Daniel Jones. And I feel like just at this point, Tommy DeVito is more of a meme than he is a quarterback. And in the long run in the National Football League, he's probably more of a backup, and I would say even more of a third-string quarterback at this point. He has terrible pocket presence. He's not very accurate. And yeah, I'm just going to have him come in at number 32. Coming in at number 31, we have the quarterback that got a nice payday from the Las Vegas Raiders in the offseason because he played well in Shane Steichen's system last year in Indy, and that is Gardner Minshew, the best quarterback on the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm fine if you have Aiden O'Connell, or if you ended up going with Desmond Ridder, they'd probably still be in this tier as well. And Gardner Minshew has not been great in his first year in Vegas. He's always been a career backup quarterback, and he was supposed to be a bridge quarterback for Vegas when they were going to find their next QB, which may end up being a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders in the 2024 NFL draft. And I feel like Minshew would have the potential to be a solid quarterback in this league and a high-end backup, a low-end starter. But I feel like when his first or second option really isn't there, he kind of just scrambles a little bit and then ends up making a poor decision. He may just throw a ball that's in traffic and should never have been thrown with to begin with. And I feel like, yeah, if Gardner Minshew is your starting quarterback, you either have had multitude of injuries this year at that position, or you're just a really bad team in the NFL. And I guess that counts for what he is for the Las Vegas Raiders right now. So yeah, Gardner Minshew coming in at number 31. And then coming in at number 30, this is probably one of the more embarrassing quarterbacks in the NFL just because he's being paid so much money. He got the largest quarterback contract, the largest NFL contract in the history of the sport, and the team traded multiple first-round picks to get him. Yeah, I have Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns. It's just comical that when Deshaun Watson got hurt this year, this offense looks so much better with Jameis Winston. Do I think Jameis Winston is a good quarterback? Not necessarily, but he can at least move the ball down the field. He can at least find his first option. It doesn't look like a D3 quarterback in the NFL, and that's what Watson has looked like since he got traded to the Cleveland Browns. I don't know what happened in his final years in Houston when he sat out, and obviously he had all that legal trouble, but he is not the same quarterback that he was when he was drafted out of Clemson and had some of the best years in the NFL in his first few years in Houston. Before he got hurt, he was 1-6 on the season. He had 5 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He was ranked 35th in EPA per play for quarterback, 35th in success rate, and was just one of the worst quarterbacks overall. And if you date it back to what he was in 2022, wasn't great for Cleveland, had a 3-3 record. People were high on him last year. He did go 5-1 in the 6 games he played with, but that was mainly because of the players around Deshaun Watson and mainly their defense. He's a terrible quarterback. Maybe he'll be better next year, but off an Achilles tear, it's probably not likely. So yeah, he's coming in at number 30. So that was the skip the Sunday tier. We're going to start off tier number 7. These guys are young. They're bad relative to the rest of the quarterbacks that we're going to talk about, but hey, they're young and they still have potential in this league. Coming in at number 29, I have the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, Will Levis. Objectively, you may say Mason Rudolph is better, but I feel like Will Levis is still someone with a higher potential than what Mason Rudolph is in the NFL. He's 25 years old. He was a highly touted second-round pick from the Tennessee Titans in last year's draft in 2023. This year, under a new head coach in Brian Callahan, it has not been what Levis and the Titans front office has wanted. He has 12 12 touchdowns to 12 interceptions this year. He has made some abysmal throws, and his decision making has not been good whatsoever. He's ranked 34th in EPA per play, 34th in success rate. He's got just over 1,900 yards on the season, a 79 quarterback rating, and now we're getting a decent sample size of Will Levis in his career. And maybe just the system isn't great. I know the offensive line hasn't been perfect for Levis at times. The weapons haven't been the best in Levis's first 2 years in the league. Like last year, he had an aging DeAndre Hopkins as his number one receiving target. Treylon Burks never really worked out, and this year Calvin Ridley has been fine for them, but they haven't really had much wide receiver depth either. So I do think Will Levis still has potential, and you never know, could take like a Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield career arc down the line. I just don't know if it's going to work out in Tennessee. Coming in at number 28, we have somebody that was drafted in the top 10 in the 2023 draft, and we have Anthony Richardson of the Indianapolis Colts. Last year his season was cut short due to injuries, where he only appeared in 4 games. He had 3 passing touchdowns to 1 interception. He had around 577 yards, and he looked really good before that season-ending injury. And this year, it's probably been the worst year possible that you can imagine for Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. He started the season, gets hurt, gets benched as well. He's got 7 passing touchdowns on the year to 11 interceptions. He's got around 1,600 passing yards on the year as well. He's ranked 30th in the NFL out of quarterbacks in EPA per play. He's ranked 33rd in success rate, and I just feel like he has all the talent in the world, and we knew that it was going to be a project for Anthony Richardson, so I'm not totally shocked he's been this bad this year. We were always going to have the ups and downs, but I think them benching him for Joe Flacco really hurt his confidence. I don't know, like Will Levis, if Richardson is going to be a good quarterback in this league. Will it be with the Indianapolis Colts his first stop, or is it going to be on another team? Because we knew it was going to be a couple year project play, but when you get to the National Football League, man, the patience definitely drops off, and you really can't invest all this time into a quarterback if they're going to continue to lose and lose games, unless you're the New York Giants with Daniel Jones. So I got Anthony Richardson coming in at 28. Talent-wise, though, like pure raw talent, he's probably still a top 20 quarterback in the league. Coming in at number 27, the 3rd straight quarterback that was drafted in that 2023 draft. This time, it's coming in as the number 1 pick from that draft. So yeah, I got Bryce Young as the 27th ranked quarterback in the NFL. And you don't want to call Bryce Young a bust just this early in his career. Last year, he was dealt one of the worst environments in the NFL in terms of ownership, front office, coaching staff, weapons around him, and the offensive line was abysmal. He went 2-14 in his rookie season, 11 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I was a big fan of Bryce Young coming out of Alabama. He was my QB1 in that draft as well. This year, though, 2-7 record, 8 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. He got off to an abysmal start once again this year, but after he got benched for Andy Dalton, he had some really good games. A productive game against the division rival Saints. They won 23-22. They beat the Giants in Germany a week later in overtime. He had a very competitive loss against the Chiefs, a competitive loss against the Bucks, and he had some really nice plays against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that the Carolina Panthers are a much inferior team to. And then he did have an abysmal game against the Cowboys, but you can still see the potential in Bryce Young. I don't know if he needs a true wide receiver 1. I don't know if he needs more time in this Dave Canales system. I still believe he could be a good quarterback in this league, but objectively right now, like season on the line, he's my 27th ranked QB. And the last player here in tier 7 is Drake May, a rookie quarterback, was drafted 3rd overall. And I think this is a good spot for Drake May. I think right now, like Super Bowl on the line, I wouldn't trust Drake May as all these other guys I have ahead of him, but this is just year 1, and I'm not ranking these 32 quarterbacks based on potential, because I do think Drake May has immense potential in this league. But right now, I do think he's a good guy to have in this tier 7. He's coming in at number 26. He's got a 2-7 record so far this year, 12 passing touchdowns, 9 interceptions, about 1,800 yards on the year. Drake May, though, can definitely be a dual threat quarterback in this league, over 350 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. He's ranked 24th in the NFL in EPA per play, 16th in success rate, and can make some really nice throws. He can actually throw the deep ball. He's got good short and mid-range accuracy, and I do think he's going to be a quarterback that can be, you know what, your long-term starter for years to come. I like Drake May's rookie season a lot more than I like Mac Jones for New England. He's just been in a horrible situation. His weapons are abysmal, like when he's thrown into Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry and Pop Douglas at times. Like, these are his top receiving options. It can only go up from here. I would love to see Drake May with like a T. Higgins or a Chris Godwin or a Ted McMillan. The offensive line needs to get better, but I do think Drake May has shown immense promise for somebody that's in a terrible environment and hasn't really played too much in his career. All right, let's start off tier number 6. This could be considered maybe the wash tier. You're a shell of what you used to be, or you just have super high variance right now. At number 25, we have Derek Carr, the best quarterback on the New Orleans Saints. This year, Derek Carr, he's had a plethora of injuries this year and last year for New Orleans. This is his second year here, but we've had a decent sample size on Derek Carr's career. We know what he is from the 9 years he spent in Oakland. Last year in 17 games for the Saints, he wasn't great, but he has been turning the ball over a lot less in New Orleans. That could be more with an increase in play action and just a different style of play under Clint Kubiak. He's ranked 13th in EPA per play this year, 27th in success rate, 15 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions, over 2,100 yards on the year, a 101 QB rating. But like I said, I just think what we've seen from Derek Carr, it's going to hurt him a little bit. I know what he's going to be. He hasn't really had a big time playoff win in his career. I don't know if that's ever going to come, at least with the New Orleans Saints. I wonder what team he's going to be on again in 2 years. I know this team has had a lot of injuries. Rashid Shaheed's been hurt this year. Chris Olave has been hurt. Like I said before, Derek Carr has had a bunch of injuries, and they've had some injuries to their O-line. I think he had a not good head coach in Dennis Allen. So maybe all those are factors why Derek Carr is a borderline top 25 quarterback in this league, but it's really hard to change my viewpoint on him just because of the large sample size we have seen in his career. Coming in at 24, somebody that was actually just benched, even though he got a massive free agency contract from the Atlanta Falcons in the offseason. I'm still going with Kirk Cousins here as the guy I'm going to pick for Atlanta, and I have Kirk coming in at number 24. A big drop off for him. I mean, yeah, Kirk suffered a major Achilles injury last year, and he's 36 years old. He's going to be 37 years old next year, and maybe that's the next time he actually starts a football game. So I find it hard to believe, at least here in Atlanta, from what we've seen this year, that Kirk Cousins can actually lead you to a Super Bowl. Maybe if he was playing under Kyle Shanahan, a guy that Shanahan has always wanted to play with and coach in his career, maybe he's going to be a lot better if he's on the Niners next year or a different team. But this version, this iteration of Kirk Cousins, I'm going to have at the 24th spot. He had a 7-7 record before he ended up getting benched. He had around 3,500 passing yards this year, 18 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. It doesn't look like he could throw the ball downfield. We're seeing him age this year, and he just doesn't look like as athletic off this Achilles tear, and he can't really throw off his back foot either. He's ranked 21st in EPA per play, 15th in success rate. And I always was a big fan of Kirk Cousins in Washington and Minnesota, but I think just at this age, it's tough to say that Kirk Cousins can be much higher. Coming in at 23, I think this is where the high variance play can come in. I have the rookie Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams still has a ways to go in his development, but his talent and instinctual feel for the sport could be enough for me to think that he can actually lead you to a playoff win right now. Now, he actually has good weapons like DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift. The O-line could definitely be better, but I actually think these weapons were set up for Caleb to succeed in his rookie year, and it's been the opposite. He's ranked 29th in EPA per play, 30th in success rate, 17 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, 2,900 passing yards, and I think he's learning. This is not USC anymore. He can't just scramble out of the pocket. He's not going to get 8 to 10 seconds to throw it sometimes, and he has been disappointing this year, but the talent is there. I still think he's better than Kirk Cousins or Derek Carr. Obviously, it didn't help that he had Shane Waldron as his offensive coordinator and Matt Eberflus as his head coach, so hopefully maybe Ben Johnson can save the Bears Super Bowl window with Caleb Williams on his rookie contract next year. Coming in at number 22, I have another rookie, but he's a lot older than the rookies we've talked about, at least in Drake May and Caleb Williams, and that is Bo Nix, who is a 24-year-old rookie who's having a productive rookie season. I just wonder what Bo Nix's ceiling is in this league, and I do think he's better than Caleb Williams and Drake May right now today, and that's what's going to be the most impactful factor in my rankings. If I was making this off potential, I would definitely have May and Williams a lot higher than Nix, because I don't know how much better Nix will be than this version of him that we're seeing this year. He's ranked 23rd in EPA per play, 25th in success rate, 20 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's averaging 6.4 yards per attempt, about 2,900 passing yards in the year. A lot of his yards are coming from yards after the catch. That's either from Devon Vele or Marvin Mims, with Jordan Humphrey, Cortland Sutton, all those guys in Denver. He struggled on third down. His footwork gets worse the longer he holds on to the ball. And those are all factors for rookies, but it helps a little bit more when they're 21 or 22 years old, and Nix is 24. That's why I struggle to put him any higher on this list. Coming in at number 21, I have Russell Wilson of the Pittsburgh Steelers, someone that took over the job from Justin Fields when he became healthy this year. He's being paid the minimum salary from the Pittsburgh Steelers, since he's still getting $40+ million from the Denver Broncos. And Russell Wilson has been the best Steelers quarterback they have seen since Ben Roethlisberger retired. This year, he's thrown 13 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's averaging 8.1 yards per attempt, and he's got a 6-2 record so far. The Steelers have been a functionable offense with Russell Wilson out there. He's ranked 17th in EPA per play, 23rd in success rate, and he's doing this throwing it to Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek. Like, when George Pickens has been hurt, the Steelers have the worst receiving core in the NFL. They do have an above average offensive line and 2 good running backs in Jalen Warren and Najee Harris that can help Russell Wilson in the run game, but then can also pass protect for Russ. I do wonder what his ceiling would be be on a different team right now, but seeing this version of Russell Wilson at 36, I still think is a good quarterback, but he's definitely a shell of what he used to be, at least in Seattle. And the last person in tier number 6, I do have Aaron Rodgers coming in at the number 20 spot. Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. He's coming off a major injury and Achilles tear that we saw last year on week 1. This year, though, Rodgers hasn't been a bad quarterback, but he's not really been a good quarterback to his standards and what the Jets expected. He's got 23 passing touchdowns on the year, 8 interceptions, about 3,200 passing yards. He's ranked 18th in EPA per play, 25th in success rate, and the Jets as a whole have been disappointing. He's got a good quarterback rating. He's not the physical talent he used to be. He could still leave a drive down the field, and I think this Jets offense, yeah, as a whole, it's been disappointing, but at times it's looked like the potential it could have had when you have Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Devonta Adams, and Breece Hall all in the same offense. And I know the record won't show otherwise, but yes, this offense does look a lot better with Aaron Rodgers out there than Zach Wilson or any of the terrible Jets quarterbacks we have seen in the last decade, but it's still been disappointing to the expectations they had going into this season. All right, let's start off tier number 5. This is pretty much, these quarterbacks are super talented right now. They've had their highs, they've had their lows, but they still need to prove something. And coming in at the 19th spot, he's currently out for the year. He's a former number 1 overall pick, and that is Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So yeah, Lawrence is coming in at the number 19th spot. He had 11 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, over 2,000 yards before he ended up getting a scary concussion the other week against the Texans. He's ranked 22nd in EPA per play, 20th in success rate. He's still uber talented. He still has one of the best skill sets out of anybody in the NFL. That's why he was so good at Clemson. That's why people talked about him as a potential generational quarterback when the Jaguars took him number 1 overall in 2021. There have been flashes of him looking like that number 1 overall pick, but there's been too many interceptions, too many fumbles, and too many missed throws to, I think, have him higher than this right now. He hasn't had the worst receiving core in the world. He's been able to throw to Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. He's had Trevor Etienne at least having some better years, and Calvin Ridley. And he did get a nice playoff win against the LA Chargers a few years ago, but I think it has been a disappointing career so far for Trevor Lawrence to what his expectations were before he was drafted. Coming in at 18, I have the last rookie. I think he's been the best rookie so far, and I wonder if he would go number 1 overall in a 2024 redraft. You guys can let me know if you'd want to see a video like that, but yes, I do have Jaden Daniels coming in at the number 18 spot. Obviously, he hasn't been able to prove anything in the playoffs so far, but it's looking like in year 1, he's going to be able to bring a team that didn't have high expectations going into this year to the playoffs. The Washington Commanders have exceeded all expectations this year, and I don't think they'd be at this point with a different quarterback other than Jaden Daniels at the helm. He's been great as a rushing quarterback, great as a passing quarterback, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a 7.7 yards per attempt rate, 3,000 yards on the year, 101 QB rating. He's ranked 6th in EPA per play, which is kind of insane for a rookie, 13th in success rate, and his short game accuracy is off the charts, and he's made some big time throws and some deep throws to Terry McLaurin, and also maybe not the greatest receiving core outside of McLaurin there in Washington. And I would say Daniels honestly has showed me more this year than maybe any individual season we have seen of Trevor Lawrence's career so far. Maybe Trevor Lawrence's sophomore year in the league. Coming in at number 17, I have a quarterback that I feel like everybody disagrees on, and that is Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. Man, I really want Tua to succeed in this league. I'm a lefty, Tua's a lefty. It's just cool to watch him play, cool to watch him take over that quarterback job at Alabama, to watch him struggle in the first couple years in the NFL, but Mike McDaniel really turned his career around when he became the head coach in this league. He's ranked 7th in EPA per play. Obviously, the concussions have been a big factor of Tua's career. He's ranked 1st in success rate with all that going on, and maybe if he didn't have these concussions in his career, he'd be a little bit more comfortable in the pocket, and obviously wouldn't have missed valuable time and valuable reps in this league when he was sidelined. 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the year, over 2,600 passing yards. His accuracy falls off a cliff when throwing to receivers who are breaking towards the sidelines, and smart defenses are able to take that away. I don't think I could put Tua as a top 16 quarterback right now, but he's right around that spot. He's also yet to win a playoff game. I always thought we should have pumped the brakes on CJ Stroud after his rookie season. People were saying he was a borderline top 5 quarterback, and I think you got to see him a little bit more now that defenses can game plan for CJ Stroud. I have him coming in at number 16. He's still been good this year, even with the Texans offense being super disappointing. I just think we have to lower expectations for what we had going into year number 2. He's still just 23 years old. He was the 2nd pick in the 2023 draft. And it's cool that he's a legitimate pocket passer and he's exceeding in the modern day NFL. He's ranked 26th though in EPA this year, 29th in success rate, 17 passing touchdowns, 9 interceptions, over 3,200 yards. He's had good receiving cores so far in his first 2 years in the league. He's been able to throw to Nico Collins, Tank Dell, who's been maybe somewhat disappointing this season, Stephon Diggs before he got hurt, and obviously the offensive line could be better in Houston. Maybe they're going to go with a different offensive coordinator change next year and move on from Bobby Slovic. It seems like that offense has been a little bit stale in year number 2, and I feel like he's still one of the more smarter quarterbacks in the league, and it's crazy because he's still just 23 years old. He's coming at 16 now. I think maybe in 5 years he could still be around that top 5, but coming in at 15, this may be a hot take. I have Sam Darnold. Yes, I have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has shown potential at USC. He even showed potential with the Jets when they were so bad, and Carolina as well. And it's a shame that he ended up in the 2 most dysfunctional organizations to start off his career during the time that he was spent with those teams. It seems like Carolina could be maybe changing their ways. I don't know about the Jets when Woody Johnson said he didn't want to trade for Jerry Jeudy because of his Madden rating, but Sam Darnold, under a competent organization and a good head coach in Kevin O'Connell, has been a top 10 quarterback, maybe even a top 5 quarterback this season alone. He's still just 27 years old, and the way he's playing right now, I feel like with him being a pending free agent, Minnesota has to bring him back. He's got 29 passing touchdowns, 11 interceptions on the year. He's averaging 8.3 yards per attempt. It's helping he's able to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. He's got over 3,500 yards on the season. He's ranked 11th in EPA per play, 6th in success rate. And obviously, like I said, he's got a good receiving core. He's able to throw those 50-50 balls to Justin Jefferson that a lot of these quarterbacks we've talked about don't have the luxury to do so. But what I've seen from Darnold this year, I think he can win a playoff game this year for the Minnesota Vikings. And that wraps out tier number 5. We're going to start off tier number 4. These guys are insanely talented, but I do think they need a really good supporting cast around them to eventually bring their team to a deep playoff run. So coming in at 14, a guy that I was teetering leaving in tier number 4 or putting in tier number 5, I kept him in tier number 4, and that is Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if the Arizona Cardinals are going to go in a different direction with their offensive coordinator after this year, just because I feel like their offense has been disappointing while their defense is exceeding expectations. Kyler this year has got 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,000 yards on the season, ranked 12th in EPA per play, 11th in success rate, and he's still a dual threat quarterback in this league. And Kyler's had some really good years of his career, including that 2022 season with the Arizona Cardinals, including the start to that 2021 season. Obviously didn't have the result they wanted, getting bounced in the wild card round. Then he proceeded to have 3-win seasons. Obviously he had a season-ending injury in that game on Monday night against the Pats a few years ago. And this year, though, I think has been a winning quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. This team was supposed to finish dead last in the NFC West, and they could still win the division. I think Kyler Murray is a ceiling raiser in this league. He's coming in at number 14. Coming in one spot ahead of Kyler is in the NFC West, and that is Geno Smith. He's dipping down these rankings right now, but I still think Geno Smith is a good quarterback. I know it hasn't been the best year since he turned his career around, becoming the Seattle starter 2 years ago, because Geno's decision-making, I think, has been off this year. He does have 13 interceptions on the year to 14 touchdowns, and with him getting up there in age, this is probably going to be the last year I have Geno this high. He's 20th in EPA per play, 17th in success rate. I think these are good factors to use when evaluating a quarterback. That's why I'm bringing them up for every quarterback that I'm talking about. And I feel like he still has insane confidence in the pocket, but that can also lead to Geno's downfall, and he can really make some poor decisions when sometimes he should just throw it away or just pass on his first option and go to option number 2. I think Geno still has a high ceiling, but if he disappoints me again this year, I'm probably gonna have to drop him down. Coming in at number 12 is someone that is currently out for the year. That is Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. He's still an insanely talented quarterback in this league. Last year, he finished runner-up in the MVP voting to Lamar Jackson, where he had 36 passing touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and he threw for over 4,500 yards. Yes, the offense wasn't great with Dak Prescott as a starting quarterback this year, and definitely hurts to see the backup Cooper Rush have more success with this offense, but that's with Rico Dowdle and this offensive running game having a little bit more success. And I think Dak, with a better running back next year and hopefully a more improved offensive line, maybe a better wide receiver too, he could show that he could be a fringe top 5 quarterback in this league like he showed last year. Yes, he hasn't got it done in the playoffs. He does have playoff wins, which a lot of these guys behind Dak do not. And this has just been, a disastrous year for Dak, but I don't want to overreact too much. Coming in at 11, this may also be a hot take. I do have Brock Purdy, and I think we can view Brock Purdy in a different light because he's obviously playing behind one of the best offensive minds in the NFL in Kyle Shanahan. He's had an all-pro tight end to throw to in George Kittle. At the time, some really good receivers in Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, and a great wide receiver 3 in Juwan Jennings. No, yeah, the best running back of the last 5 years, and Christian McCaffrey behind him, and a good offensive line. This year, he doesn't have the luxury of throwing to all those assets because they've had a plethora of injuries or just overall regression this year. And Purdy, you could probably say, has not been a top 12 quarterback so far. But Purdy did lead the Niners to the Super Bowl last year. He did lead the Niners to the conference championship 2 years ago. That's still impressive. We've seen quarterbacks in great offenses be disappointing. Brock this year in a down year is still ranked 8th in EPA per play. He's 12th in success rate, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Can still make some bad decisions. We saw those decisions at Iowa State. There's a reason why he was the last pick in the NFL draft. He was Mr. Irrelevant, but I still think he's a top 15 quarterback in this league. Coming in at number 10, I think he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch, and it's cool to see him have this career turnaround over the last few years, and that is Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And just ranking Baker high and Sam Darnold really gives me some hope for some of the quarterbacks that have had disappointing starts to their career that I ranked low on this list. Baker, though, this year has been slinging the rock. He's an improved pocket passer. He's got 32 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 7.8 yards per attempt, and this is with Mike Evans getting hurt. Chris Godwin have his season-ending injury. He's thrown for over 3,600 yards. He's ranked 9th in EPA per play, 7th in success rate. He won a playoff game for the Bucs last year. They beat the Eagles in wildcard weekend. They almost beat the Lions in the divisional round. He had a really good first full year in Tampa Bay under Dave Canales and Todd Bowles. And even with Canales leaving to Carolina, Baker is still one of the best passing quarterbacks in the league. And I do think he could lead his team to the Super Bowl. I don't know if it's this version of the Bucs, but I do think Baker is a borderline top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And the last quarterback that we have in tier number 4 is Jared Goff. I really wanted to put Goff in tier 3, and if you did that, I'd be okay. But Goff isn't like the best situation in the league, and we saw Goff's struggles in Los Angeles or even his first year in Detroit under Dan Campbell. And yes, he's getting better with age, 100%. And Goff is a good quarterback. Being the 9th ranked quarterback in the NFL is an insane feat. This year, 12-2 record at the moment I'm recording this, 3,700 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. This is Goff's 3rd straight really good season in Detroit. Obviously, he's got great weapons. Sam Laporta is their tight end, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams as the receivers, 2 great running backs, and a great O-line. And the Lions have had a bunch of injuries on both sides of the field, but this offensive line has still been really solid. I know they lost David Montgomery for the year, but Goff is playing under maybe the smartest offensive coordinator in the league right now in Ben Johnson. I think he's in the perfect situation, and this is the best version of Goff. And if they do win the Super Bowl this year or go to the Super Bowl, I will have him, I think, a tier higher going into next year. But right now, until we could see that, I'm going to have him hovering around this 9th overall spot. Now we're going to start off tier 3. I believe they can get it done in this league. And to start off, we do have Jalen Hurts. And I don't know if me having Hurts at 8 and Goff at 9 is hypocritical. I think it just helps out in my mind that Hurts was able to go to the Super Bowl 2 years ago and Goff wasn't able to get it done last year against San Fran. But I think like Goff, there's some similarities in Hurts. Hurts definitely does have his weaknesses, but he's in a great situation. He hasn't had maybe the smartest offensive coordinators like Goff has had with Ben Johnson, but he's had the luxury of having an elite O-line behind Jason Kelce for some years, Jordan Mailata, Wayne Johnson, Landon Dickerson. This is an elite offensive line. He's got another good running back in Saquon Barkley behind him, and 2 elite receivers in A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. But Hurts can get it done in both aspects of the game. He's a dual threat quarterback. Last year, he did throw a decent amount of interceptions, but he's cut those down this year. 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's ranked 10th in EPA per play, 10th in success rate. And yeah, I do think Hurts struggles with accuracy down the field sometimes. He's got good short throw accuracy, but I think struggles with his deep ball. And I know some advanced analytics don't really love Jalen Hurts as high as I have him ranked, but he went to the Super Bowl a few years ago, and I think this year has a good chance at bringing the Eagles back. Coming in at number 7, I have Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, Jordan Love, who's only won 1 playoff game in his career. Last year, he did beat the Dallas Cowboys in wildcard weekend, but he did lose to San Francisco in a good game. He didn't play all that well, but they did play it close against San Fran, a team that was much better than Green Bay on paper. And I think he really does have a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in him, and that's what you're going to get when he sat behind Rodgers for all those years. This year, Love, I think, has made some bad decisions. He does have 11 interceptions on the year, and I think could have a little bit more, but he's playing the best football of his career, in my opinion, right now. He's ranked 4th in EPA per play, 13th in success rate, and Love became a starting quarterback just last year. And I know he's 26 years old, and it's not like he just came into the league as a 26-year-old. He was a first-round pick, sat behind Rodgers for a bunch of years, and last year led the Packers to the divisional round. He threw for 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. This year, he's probably going to throw for more interceptions. I think he's taking a few more risks, and that's what you see when guys aren't rookies anymore. And last year was like his true rookie season, so maybe I'm just high on Love. You can let me know. And the last guy in tier number 3, I do have Matthew Stafford, who won a Super Bowl with the Rams in 2021, and I still think is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, still a true pocket passer. And he's also been decimated by injuries in his career, and over the last few years, he's been banged up a ton, as well as his receivers. Puka's had injuries, and Cooper Kupp have had injuries. He doesn't have the strongest arm like he used to, but I still think he can get it done. It helps that he's playing under Sean McVay in Los Angeles. He wasn't able to win much in Detroit, but obviously that was more on Detroit's roster building than Matthew Stafford. And I feel like when the game's on the line, he can get it done for you. Obviously, it helps in my mind that he did win a Super Bowl a few years ago. He didn't make it back to the playoffs the following year, but he did make it to the playoffs last year. I feel like the Rams did overachieve to their preseason expectations because of Matthew Stafford. They were in that game against the Detroit Lions because of Matthew Stafford. And this is like one of the last guys from my generation truly balling out. All right, so let's start off tier number 2. And I do feel like these top 5 quarterbacks are the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think that's unanimous, but I do believe that you can interchange them however you want. So starting off in tier 2, the best in football tier, I have Justin Herbert coming in at number 5. Now, I hate to use the word what if with Justin Herbert because people will joke and they'll call him the if man, and obviously he's a hypothetical quarterback, but he truly is, in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback in this league. He's that talented, and I know they had that playoff choke with Brandon Staley as their head coach a couple years ago to Jacksonville, but I do think he can win you a playoff game this year with Ladd McConkey, a second-round pick, Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston. It looks like a bust of a first-round wide receiver. He's throwing it to Will Dissly as his tight end, and he just gets it done. He can make throws that I don't think many quarterbacks in this league can make. He's only thrown 2 interceptions this year. I think his decision-making has been off the charts. He is ranked 19th in EPA per play, 28th in success rate, but he's been hurt all year. He had a pretty noticeable ankle injury to start off this year's season, and I still think he's been great. Obviously, he's a couple years removed from that 5,000-yard 38 passing touchdown season in 2021, but I do think Justin Herbert can win you a Super Bowl, and I'm still on the Herbert hype train. Coming in at number 4, I got Joe Burrow, someone that's actually been to a Super Bowl before, somebody that's actually beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, and that is someone that may not even make the playoffs this year, but Joe Burrow is having an MVP statistical season. Right now, he's got just under 4,000 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he has been a phenomenal quarterback since his rookie season, where he suffered a major injury. He wins Comeback Player of the Year in 2021, goes to the Super Bowl that year. He finishes 4th in MVP voting in 2022. Obviously, he could have made it to another Super Bowl, but lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the conference championship. He's ranked 5th in EPA per play this season, 5th in success rate, and I think he can create more explosive plays with his arm than almost anybody else in this game, coming in at number 4. But if you had Burrow number 2, I'm fine with that. Coming in at number 3, I have Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. And this year, you could have Lamar as the best quarterback in the league. And I think if Lamar won a Super Bowl this year, there are going to be talks that he's the best overall quarterback in this league and can take that for my number 1 guy, because Lamar got an MVP in 2019, got an MVP last year in 2023. He has MVP caliber numbers this year, where he's leading the NFL in touchdown percentage, interception percentage, yards per attempt, quarterback rating. He's got 3,500 passing yards, 34 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. That's 34 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. You know how insane that is? He's currently ranked 2nd in EPA per play, 4th in success rate, and he's obviously still an elite dual threat quarterback. He's one of the best running quarterbacks, if not the best running quarterback in the game today, but he just has to get it done in the playoffs if he wants to be in that number 1 or at least tier 1 spot. And the last guy in tier number 2, who's coming in at number 2, that is Josh Allen. If Josh Allen gets an MVP this year and a Super Bowl, I think he's going to join that guy in tier number 1. Josh Allen may steal Lamar's 3rd MVP this year, and maybe rightfully so. He's got an 11-3 record, 3,300 passing yards, 25 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. This was supposed to be a down year for Buffalo, but Josh Allen with a wide receiving core of Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, who's having a down year, Curtis Samuel, Matt Collins, he's getting it done as a passer. He looks poised, composed, comfortable more than he's ever been in his career. And he's 28 years old, and I feel like we're watching the prime of Josh Allen. 1st in EPA per play, 3rd in success rate. And I do feel like I've talked about a couple times, if Lamar or Allen gets a ring this year, I think they can have a real discussion as the best quarterback in the league. Because coming in at number 1, I still have Patrick Mahomes in his own tier. It's the Patrick Mahomes tier until he loses the Super Bowl. So if they win it all this year, yeah, this tier isn't changing, even with Mahomes having a super down year to his standards as a passing quarterback in this league. He still has 2 MVPs, getting one in that 2018 season and in 2022. Last year, we kind of saw Mahomes regress a little bit in his regular season numbers. We all kind of counted him out. Obviously, they traded away Tyreek Hill. And you know what they do? They go on and they win the Super Bowl. This year, the Chiefs still have an incredible record. Only 1 loss at the moment I'm recording this. Mahomes just recently got hurt, and he's got 22 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, but I'm not counting out Mahomes as individually and unanimously the best quarterback in the league until he loses in the playoffs. And I think if Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson beats Mahomes and could win the Super Bowl, they could take that from Mahomes as the best quarterback in the league. But until that happens, I have Mahomes as my only guy in tier number 1. So that's going to be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. I know it's very tough to give out your top 32 quarterbacks, and I know you guys are going to disagree with a bunch of these because I think there's no perfect 32 ranking quarterback lists in the league. And if Tom Brady made his top 32 quarterbacks or just the smartest NFL mind in the league, or Kyle Shanahan, I'm sure people would disagree with it. But that's the beauty of this, and I'd love to know maybe your top 10 guys or what you disagree or agree with. Let me know down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.